What if I told you the United States once thrived without income tax? That sounds crazy. That for over a century, the federal government was primarily funded by tariffs. Welcome to Bear Economics. Today we're diving into the topic that has played a crucial role in American history. Tariffs. What are they? The history, how they've been used, and could they replace federal income tax? Stick around as we go through each of these topics. So what are tariffs? Before we dive into the history, let's define tariffs. A tariff is a tax imposed on imported goods. Governments use tariffs to raise revenue and protect domestic industries from foreign competition. There are two main types. Protective tariffs, designed to shield domestic businesses by making foreign goods more expensive. And revenue tariffs. These are primarily used to generate government income. For much of U.S. history, tariffs were the primary source of government revenue. But that changed dramatically in the 20th century. The role of tariffs in building American prosperity. From the nation's founding, tariffs were a key pillar of the U.S. economic policy. The Tariff Act of 1789, signed by our greatest president, George Washington, he established our first tariff system, ensuring revenue while fostering domestic industry. Throughout the 19th century, tariffs remained high, protecting burgeoning American industries. During the Industrial Revolution, tariffs played a vital role in making the U.S. a manufacturing powerhouse and shielding American businesses from foreign competition. One of the most famous examples of this is the Morrill Tariff of 1861, which helped fund the Union during the Civil War and laid the groundwork for the rapid industrial expansion that followed. From the late 1800s to the early 1900s, the U.S. experienced unprecedented economic growth, partially due to the tariff policies that supported domestic business. The McKinley Tariff Act of 1890 and the Dingley Tariff of 1897 kept imports expensive, encouraging the purchase of American-made goods, leading to job growth and national prosperity. The shift from tariffs to income tax. This prosperous period came to an end with the 16th Amendment in 1913, which introduced the federal income tax, one of the worst periods of American history. So before this, tariffs funded the majority of government operations. However, with growing government programs and foreign trade considerations, income tax gradually replaced tariffs as the primary revenue source. The impact? A direct tax on individual earnings rather than foreign goods. Over time, this shift increased the financial burden on American workers while allowing multinational corporations to take advantage of the lower production costs abroad, using tariffs as a strategic tool. So beyond revenue generation, tariffs have long been used as a strategic tool in international relations. 1. Economic leverage. By imposing tariffs, the U.S. can pressure countries into fair trade agreements. 2. Encouraging domestic industry. Higher tariffs on certain imports incentivize domestic production and reduce dependency on foreign supply chains. 3. Job protection. By limiting cheap foreign goods, tariffs can help sustain American manufacturing jobs. A modern example of this is the U.S.-China trade war, where tariffs were used to counteract unfair trade practices. There are some drawbacks. It could potentially have retaliatory effects from other countries. All right, short-term versus long-term effects. So the short-term effects would be higher prices on imported goods, possible trade tensions, and supply chain disruptions. But the long-term are strengthened domestic industries, job creation, and economic independence. So short-term and long-term break down for me in high time preference and low time preference. This comes from the Austrian economist Ludwig von Mises, his time preference theory, which explains how individuals value present consumption versus future consumption. So short-term thinking is equal to high time preference, which is individuals prioritize immediate consumption over future benefits, which results in lower savings, reduced investment, and economic stagnation over time. And long-term effects is the low time preference, in which you're willing to delay gratification, savings and investing resources for the future. This leads to capital accumulation, economic growth, and long-term prosperity. So Mises argued that societies with low time preferences tend to build wealth and advance civilization. The high time preference society will struggle with economic instability and short-term thinking. So historically, when tariffs have been implemented effectively, they've contributed to economic booms by keeping wealth within the country. However, poor tariff policies, like the Smoot-Hawley tariff of 1930, contributed to economic downturns by escalating trade wars during the Great Depression. Could tariffs replace income tax? One of the most intriguing questions is whether tariffs can replace income tax altogether. Hypothetically, a tariff-based revenue system would shift the tax burden to individual Americans to foreign goods, encourage domestic manufacturing, simplifying the tax system by reducing government bureaucracy, which we all know there's plenty of. However, for this to work, the US would need a carefully designed tariff system that balances revenue needs with trade stability. But it can absolutely be done. We did it for over a century. It worked fine. In conclusion, tariffs have been a powerful tool throughout American history, fueling economic growth and national development. While they were largely replaced by income tax, not necessary, they still hold potential as a strategic tool for economic policy. Should the US return to a tariff-based system? Could it replace the federal income tax? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into tariffs, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more content on bear economics. Thanks for watching.